Let's talk about Tanguy Ndombele. There's been an article in The Athletic. Have you got that article?
From Ndombele, yeah, I do. Well, I did.
But one of the takeaways from that article is that Ndombele but the latest time he did change his mind and thought he wanted to leave was after that Carabao Cup final selection when Ryan Mason picked Winks ahead of him in the cup final. And he's wanted to leave ever since then. But doesn't that just show even more weaker mentality from Tanguy Ndombele?
I mean, I've read the article. It doesn't specifically say that was like he put in a transfer request immediately after that, and that's how what it implies when people say that that's what the reason was. But it says that it says in the article that when he was left out of the squad, he was absolutely beside himself. He was crestfallen, basically, about being left out in the cup final.
I think we all were, though.
Yeah, and not just being left out, but because that was potentially one of his biggest games of his career if he would have started. But also, didn't get on the pitch at all. He brought on Sissoko ahead of him.
We all questioned it at the time.
Yeah. And we did. And apparently he was leading up to that cup final, he was very excited and he thought, he was definitely going to start because I guess before Mason was in, he was a fixture in the team and he was very excited. And then to lose his place on the cup final, it says Ndombele was crestfallen to be dropped for the final. This would have been the biggest game of his career, his first major final and his first game at Wembley. However, he had to watch from the bench as Mason brought on the likes of Bale, Sissoko, Dele, Bergwijn, but not Ndombele. For Ndombele, this was immensely painful. He has always seen himself as a big game player who comes alive on the grand stages. It was his display for Lyon against Man City in the CL in 2018. Remember, that alerted the world to his talent, and now he had the sideline for a huge game when he was desperate to make a difference. The result, that was perhaps unsurprisingly, Ndombele's head dropped after the cup final. He was so upset with the final that affected his performances in training, and Ndombele didn't give Mason a reason to put him back in the side. It compounded a miserable end to the season for Tanguy by missing out on the Euro 2020 squad despite starting a World Cup qualifier for France in the March international break. It led to Ndombele asking to leave, with the player believing that he can get a move to a team such as big as Barcelona, Madrid or Bayern Munich. This in turn has led to Nuno excluding him from the team and even the bench for all the Spurs games so far this season. Nuno does not want to pick a player who doesn't want to be here. And that's the state of play. So it sounds like that was like the starting point of a catalyst for a series of events that has led him to wanting out.
Yeah, and look, the Ndombele thing is a hard one to take because obviously he was going well in the season. Last season. And as soon as Mourinho got sacked, the final came along 6 days later. Ndombele was in a good moment at that time. And everyone expected him to start that cup final. He gets omitted for Harry Winks, never plays again in the whole season. And what The Athletic are saying there, it seems it makes sense. And it's absolutely spot on in my opinion. And you got to blame Ryan Mason, don't you, for not picking him for that cup final? But
especially because he picked Harry Winks instead, which was.
But on the flip side of that as well, you got to say that your mentality can't be that weak that you come out of the game for a cup final. Yes, it's going to be hard to take, but you got to be more professional than that. You got to prove them wrong. You got to come back stronger. You got to try 10 times as harder at training. You can't just give up everything and be like, all right, I want to go. And that's not the right mentality to have as a professional footballer.
I don't think it was he was dropped and that was it, he wants to go. It looks like what happened was he was dropped and he got very down about being dropped and he wasn't happy about it, and it affected his own performance in training. And because of that, Mason wasn't able to use him or put him back in because he didn't deserve to be put back in. And then because he didn't feature in the latter stages, he was like, all right, it's not working out here, so I'm going to go. It did, so the cup final started from that, but that wasn't alone the only reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is like, from my understanding, from what you just said, is that he didn't start the cup final. He got omitted, didn't play a minute in the cup final, and then his performance levels in training dropped because of it. And then a consequence of that is that he never played again in the season.
And then
you can't let your performance levels in training drop like that just because you're not in the team for a cup final.
Yeah, of course.
That mentality is nowhere near good enough.
That stinks of entitlement.
Exactly.
And we don't want players who feel like they should be entitled to that. However, just playing devil's advocate, playing from Ndombele's standpoint, he'd worked so hard to get back in the team throughout the season, right? And he started the season out of favour a bit under Mourinho, and then he worked doubly as hard to get his fitness right, to get all these things right to start games. And he was under Mourinho, he was a fixture in the team. He was playing really well for a lot of the time. He was he worked so hard. We all seen how hard he worked to get back in the team and put himself in a position where he was playing week in, week out. And then when it comes to the first final we have in the season, and the first major final for him to be left out for Harry Winks, who'd been having a terrible season up till then and hadn't probably been trying as hard as him throughout the season. And when he'd been given opportunities under Mourinho, hadn't impressed anywhere near as much as Ndombele. For him to miss out on the final for Winks must have been gutting for all the hard work he'd been put in.
And it was gutting for us fans as well. It was gutting for us fans, but still, like, yes, of course, Ryan Mason has done wrong there by not picking Ndombele in the final. That's 100%. But you still can't react like the way he reacted as a top professional footballer, especially on 200 grand a week, our top earner at the club. You just can't react like that. I'm sorry. It's just not the right way to go about things. And it just, like you said, it just stinks of entitlement.
But sometimes maybe it's subconscious.
Yeah, could be. Very much could be. But, you're having a good season, and then the new manager comes in, and he's a caretaker manager, first of all, and he takes you out the team for the first game. If you try harder in training, you're going to be getting into that team again, surely.
Well, the funny thing is, he did start
He's
the
a fighter,
first game.
apparently. He's the one that told Dan he'll leave. He's a fighter.
He did start the first game.
He did, and he got taken off at half-time,
He got taken off, I don't know, it was...
That's against Southampton.
Yeah, I'm not sure, it might have been half-time, but I think it was early. He got taken off early.
He was
apparently, according to the article, Ndombele was kind of... He started the game, but he was conserving his energy as the final was 4 days later, and he wanted to be 100% for that game, which is not the best way to look at it, but that's maybe why he wasn't at his best.
The thing is, we were going for top four at that time, and we really needed the points. We won the game in the end, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Just about. But look, you can't go into the game thinking about a game 5 days later, or wherever it is. Even if it's a cup final, you just can't. You need to concentrate on what's in front of you at the end of the day. So look, at the end, when you look at this whole situation, it's just bad all around. Bad management by Ryan Mason, bad attitude by Tanguy Ndombele, and if I was Tanguy, I would have put everything behind me when Ryan Mason left the club.
I think with a new manager now, time for a new start. Like, Mason's not here anymore, so why carry on this? Why would he still want to push for to move, unless there's something within the club or the dressing room where he's just irreparable and he just wants out of it? Yeah, there's a new manager there now, and it's time for a fresh start. And at the moment, with all the big clubs not having much money, there aren't many better places you can be, I don't think, than Tottenham right now. In terms of, I know our stock is not the best, highest right now, but
he's got a chance right now to play week in, week out in the Premier League for Tottenham. Potentially, our expectations this year is probably 5th or 6th, but if we overperform our expectations, we can get into that top 4 this year. If we really, knuckle down.
Someone like Ndombele is on top of his game, it definitely would help.
Exactly.
And it's a shame that he's still trying to push in the last week of the window to move, and that doesn't bode well if he does stay, whether he will knuckle down and really will see the best of him. And it's just really annoying and sad that the prospect of Ndombele leaving Tottenham without having seen the best of him is a big possibility.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're going to have to deal with, unfortunately. But it's very frustrating because I'm such a big fan of his talent and what he can do on the pitch. But unfortunately, his head doesn't seem to be at the club at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's a sad thing.